Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to join you, even though I'm doing so remotely. Just to let you know, I'm very sorry I can't be with you this afternoon to discuss this very important topic. But as you can see, I'm on board the MT Yemen, which is the super tanker that's coming in to offload the oil cargo from the stricken FSO Safar. We expect to be able to moor alongside them today, so I'm broadcasting this message from that location. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity to speak here today. It's a real pleasure to introduce the topic how we've utilized the Joint SDG Fund. In this case, we've used it to contribute as a contribution for research on the impact of the Ukraine crisis on food security in Yemen. This project was a joint project executed by IOM, FAO, UNDP, in collaboration with ACAPS and the ARK group. Our research is aligned with pre-existing food security concerns. The project used different approaches, including informant interviews, data exploration through a cost-driving monitoring tool, and household interviews in both the north and south of Yemen, all using do-no-harm approach to protect contributors. All results were validated through a stakeholder meeting. The results are very clear, and some are not surprising. Yemen is strongly import dependent, with most imports pre-2022 coming from Ukraine and Russia. It imports 70% of its food by volume and 83% of its food by calories. Humanitarian food imports make up about 10% of total food supply. Most humanitarian support is cash-based, as food affordability is more problematic than food availability. Yemen's strong private sector imports makes food available throughout the country. Due to the high cost of production, locally produced food is more expensive than imported food, particularly in the case of wheat. The analysis from the cost-driving monitoring tool identifies some important trends. While distribution costs have declined since 2017, the combined profit margin for distributors, wholesalers, and retailers have increased from 34 to 40% of the total retail price. As expected, women-headed households and muhammadin are among the most vulnerable. Additionally, those working in agriculture are also more vulnerable than average, with 89% of them receiving humanitarian support. People develop different coping mechanisms, including cutting other expenditures, but also by increasing indebtedness, especially through informal networks. We have come up through this research with several policy recommendations, including the following. With the right investment, including from the private sector, agriculture value chains can be strengthened to become more climate change resistant and productive. Increasing the efficiency of food transportation and distribution can help to reduce retail prices of both imported and locally produced food. Consumers can also benefit from efforts to reduce the sensitivity to international food price shocks, including from recent private investments in increased storage capacity. Finally, further research on key issues of concern, including consumption, may be worthwhile to quantify its overall economic impact. I would like to finalize my comments by highlighting why this research was worthwhile. While the topic was particularly salient during the first months of the Ukraine war, it also aligns with greater concerns about the food system in Yemen that needed answering anyway. Methodological highlights include the following: extension and incorporation of ACAP's research tools, especially the cost-driving monitoring tool, key informant interviews to the networks of research partners to provide substantial background information, a 500 household interview covering both Hudaydah and Taiz with excellent representation from the muhammadin, validation meetings with a broad array of stakeholders. In addition, useful results to paint a picture of the challenges to the food system, including the scale of imports in comparison to local production and what the key cost drivers are of the wheat retail price. An in-depth analysis of household survey provides a picture of the different types of food insecurity food insecurity coping mechanisms, as well as highlighting the vulnerability of some groups, including female household heads and muhammashin, but more surprisingly also agricultural workers. Finally, a number of specific policy recommendations were derived from the research, including specific suggestions for future lines of work, such as on value chains, logistical improvements, and the role of cut. Some of the policy recommendations are already being undertaken by other actors, such as an extension of the domestic storage capacity. So we look forward to fully benefiting and exploiting this particular research to enhance the food security in Yemen and the food systems throughout the country. With that, I conclude my remarks. But just as a reminder, other factors such as the FSO SAFR, any kind of environmental disaster that does represent, could equally have a very detrimental impact. So we're working on all fronts to try to protect the system of food security inside Yemen. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best in your further consultations. Thank you very much.